Do we know anything? Did leaders start to emerge, or was it like a mob rule? And that's probably the wrong frame. Pure democracy, let's say. Did they vote on everything, or?
No, it was a congregationally ruled. It would have been elders and a pastor.
Okay.
The pastor was John Robinson, a really good guy who preached the vision for taking the gospel to the New World, but knew he needed to stay with the congregation in Leyden. So he did not come to the New World.
Okay.
But he put the younger ones, those who were healthy, those who were strong, some of the elders, one military man, others, on this ship, and they sailed to the New World. And so leadership did emerge. In fact, what I think sets us all up for this is that they sail 66 days across the North Atlantic. This will be approximately from September to November. I want you to think about that.
Well, I just did the Ramsey cruise for 7 days in the Caribbean.
Yeah.
And I was ready to get off after 7 days.
Yeah. Okay. 66 days with storms so bad. I'm going to raise my arm's the mast.
Yeah.
The ship is going like this, dipping in the ocean on one side and then flipping over and dipping in the ocean on the other.
I can't imagine.
Yeah. The captain, whose name was Christopher Newport, won't let them go above decks because they're going to wash off.
Right.
So now they're in 4 lower decks in what they call the tween deck. All kinds of human refuse and bile is floating around. People can't go outside. There are no porta potties.
There's no plumbing.
Right. 1/3 of this 103 to 120, we don't know the exact number, are children. They're screaming, vomiting, pooping. I mean, this is what's going on. One woman's pregnant.
She gets on the boat.
Gets on the boat pregnant. Has the first child, we think, in the New World, one of them anyway. They're in water so cold that the U.S. Navy says at that time of year, if you spend 3 minutes in the water, you die. Not hypothermia, like you're sick. You die. 3 minutes. That's the cold water that's coming in. We have a journal reference from one guy that I've always enjoyed citing, because they're Calvinists and they're positive and they see everything in light of the providence of God. Well, what's happening is the slats in the ship when the ship hits the water so hard from being lifted up, the slats actually open for a little bit. And fish were coming in at times. That's how big the opening was. And he said, we did thank God for the various and sundry fish that came in through the side of the ship that we might eat them. And I'm thinking, I would rather fast than have the ship opening up with fish coming in the side.
The fish are supposed to stay on the outside.
It was unbelievably violent. But I don't want to lose the fact that this serious suffering.
Right.
These are farmers, by the way. These people have never been on shipboard. You were on a cruise ship and get me off of this thing. Probably for a week or two, right?
Right, just a week.
66 days.
Incredible.
That's 2 months and a week.
Yeah.
But there's one guy whose name is John Howland, and I love his story. He finally goes, forget the captain, I'm going up top. I can't stay down here in the vomit and the poop and the screaming and the whatever anymore.
Right.
So he disobeys the captain, goes up the hatch, and as soon as he goes up the hatch, a wave comes, which is exactly what the captain knew would happen.
Yeah.
Catches him and washes him off the ship. Well, as he's flailing in the air and the water, he reaches out and grabs a rope. Again, these Calvinist providential God is in charge.
Odds.
The ship goes one way, away from him. He's over here with the rope. Comes back, and a wave picks him up and slam dunks him, Michael Jordan style, through the open hatch back to where he was. It's like God was saying, I told you to stay put. And he
put him back in place.
The journal writings tell us that he never moved again. Like he just sat in the corner and said, I'm not moving.
He learned his lesson.
So there's some humorous things with it all. One of the sailors constantly called them, and I love this insult. It's an old insult, but it tells us what they used to do. He said these pilgrims are psalm-singing puke stockings. That was his phrase.
Psalm-singing
puke stockings.
Well, I think I've heard of this guy. Isn't he the only one that dies?
The only one who died. But I love it for 2 reasons. First of all, he's the only dude that dies. The one sailor who insults them is the only guy who dies on the entire voyage. And the other thing is those are the 2 things the pilgrims spent their time doing. Singing psalms, which is what the old Christians would have done in that era.
Right.
And throwing up. Psalm-singing puke stockings. But it was miserable.
Yeah.
Absolutely miserable. Finally, they come to the New World. They land by our calendar, November 9. Mm-hmm. So now we're talking Cape Cod, we're talking New England. So they are already aware they're in trouble. Mm-hmm. They have come late. They got 120-ish souls on board. They don't know exactly where they are. And by the way, the storms have blown them. They're charters for Virginia and the northern parts of Virginia, which we can think of as being kind of maybe southern Pennsylvania. They're way north of, they don't have a charter for where they are. So now they're going to start exploring, looking around, and they're not going to actually get off the ship for another 5-6 weeks. It'll be just before Christmas that they actually step off the ship and permanently go ashore. They are trying to figure out where to plant, where to build their fort. They finally do at what's now called Plymouth. And they are aware they're in trouble. I mean, it's December 21st when they finally put foot ashore, cold, bitter, empty wilderness.
They're not growing anything at this point, and they didn't bring groceries with them.
Right. People of that era did not trust just natural, what they would have called natural water. They wouldn't just drink from a stream or a lake, because they knew that they had previously, their children maybe had consumed water from a river and gotten badly sick.
Right.
So they brewed beer. They had learned, they didn't know about microorganisms and what was going on with B vitamins and all that. But they just knew that beer didn't make them sick because the alcohol, we now know the alcohol killed the microorganisms, and it had B vitamins that made their children healthy. So they hauled beer with them, but they wouldn't have consumed water from the ocean, the lakes, the rivers, so on. So they were in trouble. They knew they had to hurry, get some structures going, start brewing beer, getting things in operation.
Yeah.
Well, while they're doing that, they notice that there are some natives watching them from the trees. And I'm part Native American, so I'm going to switch now and become Hiawatha for you and be very Native American. But I love these guys because we now know who these guys were. And so they're watching. They've assigned some people with guns to watch them. Finally, two big old tall Indians, about 6'4", stride out of the woods, walk up to the pilgrims, and in perfect King James English, they say, "Do you have a beer?" Now, this it sounds like I'm making this up.
It does.
I'm not. This is part of the record. The tribe of these natives had been killed off through disease. They had lived with some other tribes. They noticed the Englishmen coming. They had gotten on ships with other English captains just sailing in the area and so on. Learned English, acquired a taste for English beer. And then finally been put back with a tribe, not their tribe. And that's when they noticed the pilgrims actually showing up. So they watched for a while to see if they were dangerous and so on, and then they wanted to help. So they walked out of the woods, walked up to the person they thought was in charge, and thinking they were being friendly, just in the same way I might say to you, "Hey, do you have a glass of wine or something?" They said, "Do you have a beer?" So God had English-speaking natives who had a taste for, who wanted a Budweiser or whatever, walk up to the pilgrims. And this is their story. The pilgrims told this story. And the person who said that, the Indian who said that was Samoset. His best buddy was the famous Squanto. And they became friends. They befriended them. And basically they said, after they had some refreshment and became friends, "You're in trouble."
As soon as they had beers together.
You're in trouble. It's, the pilgrims would not have celebrated Christmas like a lot of dissenters did, but they knew what time of year it was. You're heading into the dead of winter. You're in trouble. Here's what you need to do quickly.
Was it called the starvation time? Is that right?
They called it the starving time.
The starving time. Okay. So they meet the Indians.
Yes.
The Indians tell them, you're in trouble.
You're in trouble.
And it kind of gets worse from there, doesn't it?
It does get worse because there's not much you can do. I don't work in agriculture, but you and I both know if you're 3 or 4 months behind in an agricultural endeavor, you can't make that up overnight, right? You can't just go buy some things and speed it along. So they know they're in trouble. And what starts now is a combination of the bitter New England cold, and that we know from records that was a particularly harsh winter. They have just the most basic huts and so on for homes. And it got to the point where there was 5 kernels of corn per person and a little bit of brackish water, meaning water that they had thought they had filtered. And
per meal?
Per person, per day.
Per person per day. That was the rations.
5 kernels of corn and a little brackish water.
Oh, wow.
And half of them died. Yeah, half of them died. Now bear in mind, we're only
in that winter,
from the winter to the spring, half of them died.
Half of them died.
And then in the spring, I don't want to gloss past that. I want you to bear in mind they're burying half of their people. Every family had a death of some sort, uncle, child, whatever. They were burying people constantly, freezing constantly, eating almost nothing, down to skeletons. And they were rescued by the sunshine and the spring and natural things growing. And then they planted. And this is where some business concepts come in, that they had planted a common plots of food and farmed it. We would probably say they did socialized farming. They
like
all
a co-op,
farmed a common thing.
Okay.
But their governor, William Bradford, this is a very important name in the history of their, he's also the guy who wrote the history, decided that they should have family plots, that they would produce better, work harder, tend it better if there wasn't a common plot, farming plot, but each family was farming it. So they went basically to privatized farming.